In today's video, we're building a date range picker using JavaScript. Here are the features we'll cover. We'll start as simple as toggling the date picker. When the range input is focused, the date picker appears, while clicking outside the date picker closes it. Next, we'll learn how to display and align dates in the calendar. This includes rendering disabled dates as well as highlighting the current date. Navigating between months is essential. The previous button navigates backward, switching to the prior year when January is reached. Similarly, the next button advances forward, rolling into the next year after December. Now for the core of this tutorial. We'll tackle how to select a date range and dynamically highlight it. Finally, we'll apply the selected range to the input or cancel the selection to discard changes. If you're new here, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe. For returning viewers, your continued support is always appreciated. Now, let's dive into the code. Let's start with the basic HTML boilerplate. Inside the head section, include the CSS and JavaScript files. In the body, add a date picker container with a text input. Beside the input, add a calendar container. Inside the calendar container, start with the left side's layout. Structure the left side calendar with 3 main sections. In the control section, add a previous navigation button and a label. In the days section, add the days of the week. In the dates section, add some span elements as date placeholders. Then, add the disabled class to the first and last few date elements. Now, duplicate the left side calendar layout for the right side. In the right calendar, change the previous button to a next button. Next, select a random date element and add the today class. Then, select other date elements and assign the range start and range end classes. And to the dates between this range, add the in-range class. After both calendars, add an action menu section. In the action menu, add a selection preview. Then add cancel and apply buttons next to the selection. Now, let's begin styling the date range picker. In CSS, define the global font stack and reset the box model. Next, set the base page styling. For the date picker, set its position to relative. As for the range input, remove the border and outline. Also, add padding and make it full width. Then set the base styles for all buttons inside the date picker. For the calendar container, set the background color. Position it below the range input and above other content. When the calendar is not hidden, display the contents in a 2-column grid. As for the controls, display it in 3 columns. Then, align the navigation buttons appropriately. And center the calendar label. For the days and dates section, display it in grid with 7 columns. Make each date element space evenly. Set a background color when in hover state. Fade out the disabled dates and prevent interactions. Apply the following colors to highlight today's date. Mark the start and end date range with the main color. For dates within the selected range, apply a light background. For the action menu, make it span both columns. Use Flexbox to arrange the menu items. Add background color and padding to the action buttons. Move the buttons to the right by pushing the Cancel button. Style the Apply button with the main color. Next, let's go to Google Font Icons page. Choose Icons for the previous and next navigation. Then update the fill attribute to current color for automatic color inheritance. Next, let's return to the date picker container to finalize its styling. Lastly, use a pseudo element to add a calendar icon beside the range input. And with that, we're done styling the date picker. Back in HTML, make the range input read-only so users can't type into it directly. Then hide the calendar container so it only shows up when needed. Before we dive into the feature list in JavaScript, let's cover some basics with the date object. This is how to initialize and get the current date. To grab the year, invoke this method. For the month, you can call it like this. This returns a zero-based value, so 0 is January. This one gives you the day of the month. And here's how to get the day of the week, which is also a zero-based value, where 0 is Sunday and 6 is Saturday. To change a part of the date, use the setter methods that match the getters. Note that the day of the week is read-only and cannot be set directly. To specify a date, provide the constructor with the following parameters in order. If no day is provided, it defaults to the first of the month. The date constructor also accepts a timestamp. You can pass in a date string too, and it'll be parsed automatically. Lastly, you can provide the constructor an existing date object. This basically makes a clone with same date and time. JavaScript dates automatically adjust when values go out of range. If the date goes below 1, it rolls back into the previous month. While excess days roll into the next month. Similarly, setting the month below 0 rolls the date back a year. Extra months push the date forward into the next year. You can format dates using the following methods. To customize the output, you can pass additional options to these methods. In summary, you can initialize a date in multiple ways. Use getter methods to read date components, and setter methods to modify them. And remember, JavaScript dates are flexible. Now that we've got a better grasp of how JavaScript dates work, let's head back to the code. To toggle the date picker, let's grab the container, the range input, and the calendar itself. When the input gets focused, show the date picker. When clicking outside the date picker, close it. As you can see, focusing on the input opens the date picker, and we can interact with it while it's open. It only closes when we click outside. And just like that, toggling date picker is done. Next, let's get those calendar dates on screen. First, select the left and right calendars. Then define the base dates for each side. Since it's currently April, the left calendar shows April and the right shows May. For now, let's keep the date picker visible while we build things out. Time to build a function that renders the calendar for a specific month and year. Let's take it step by step, starting with updating the label. Now, let's call this function to render both calendars. This gives us numeric months, but we want human-readable month names, so let's fix that. We can either use an array of month names or utilize the date object. Let's go with the date object. Here, convert the date to string for a localized output. As you can see, this gives us a better result, and it works with any language. To make it dynamic, we can make it default to the user's browser language. Next, grab the dates container and clear it before rendering. Before continuing, let's set up a couple of handy helper functions. First, a function that will format a given date to string. Next, a function to generate the date element. Let's test it to make sure it works. Now that the helpers are set up, let's define the date range. First, the start date beginning on the 1st of the month. Currently, the left calendar starts on Tuesday and the right on Thursday. To align dates in columns, we need to always reset the start date on Sunday. Next, we'll set the end date by adding 42 days to the start date. As you know, different months have varying numbers of weeks. Since we're displaying 2 months side by side, we need consistent height. So we're locking the calendar to 6 full weeks or 42 days even if the month is shorter. Next, let's create a document fragment for better performance. Now, let's go ahead and loop from start to end date. For each date, check if it's from a different month to disable it. Then, check if it's the current date to emphasize it. Create the date element and add it to the document fragment. Don't forget to increment the date inside the loop. Then, append everything to the dates container. To verify the implementation, compare it to this year's actual calendar for April and May. If everything matches, then this feature is done. Moving on, let's make those navigation buttons functional. To start, grab the previous and next buttons from the DOM. Next, set up a function to refresh both calendars. We'll call it whenever we change the month. When the previous button is clicked, we'll shift both calendars back 1 month and re-render. For the next button, we'll do the same but move forward 1 month. Now, let's see if the navigation buttons work correctly. If the right calendar shows January, the left should show December of the previous year. Also double-check against a real calendar to ensure our dates line up perfectly. For the next month, when the left calendar shows December, the right should show January of the next year. Again, confirm the rendered dates align with an actual calendar. That wraps up the month navigation. Now for the exciting part, let's build the date range selection. We'll start by initializing variables to hold the selected range. To track the selected date, assign a date attribute to each date element. Notice we're skipping disabled dates to prevent any issues. Next, add a click event listener to each date element. In the handler function, grab the selected date. It's more reliable to compare date objects than date strings, so make sure to convert its date attribute back to a date object. Next, we'll check if this is the first selection, or if a full range is already selected. In either case, the user is starting a new range, so the logic is the same. If it passes, the selected date is the new start date, and the end date remains empty. Next, if the selected date is earlier than the start date, set it as the new start date. This is to prevent selecting a date range in reverse. If neither condition applies, the selected date becomes the end date. That's it for the date range selection logic. Users need visual feedback, so let's create a function to highlight the selected range. Here, clear all previous highlighting. If a start date exists, we'll find its matching element, then apply the range start class. Invoke this highlighting function every time a date is clicked. If only a start date is selected, we'll also apply the range end class to it. Next, duplicate this logic for the end date and adjust as needed. Confirm if selecting a new date starts a fresh range when a range already exists, and also when selecting a date before the start date. Next, if both start and end dates are set, highlight everything in between. As you can see, the selected range is now highlighted. However, clicking the navigation buttons clears the highlighting. To fix this, call this function every time the calendar renders. Next, show the selection preview in a user-friendly format. Here, create a function to display the current date range selection. Then call this function every time a date is clicked. Finally, let's add real-time highlighting when hovering over dates. Here, add a mouse over event listener to each date element. In the mouse over handler, highlight the hover element only if there's no end date. Here, compare the hovered date with other dates. Only highlight dates between the start date and the hovered date. The third condition ensures we don't highlight backward. Now, test and verify that the implementation works as expected. That concludes the date range selection. Let's move on to our final feature. First, we'll select the Apply and Cancel buttons. Next, we need to remember what was selected before the user opens the date picker. Let's store that when the input is focused. For the Apply button's click event, the logic mirrors the selection preview. But we'll set the selection to the range input, then close the date picker. For the Cancel button's click event, we'll restore the original selection. Also update the highlights and selection preview. Finally, close the date picker. Now, when you click the Apply button, the range input reflects the current selection. When you select a new range and click Cancel, it keeps the original range. It also resets the preview and highlights to match the range input, as if nothing happened. That's how to implement the Apply and Cancel functionality. Before we call it done, let's handle an important edge case with month transitions. Let's say today is January 30th. Notice that the rendered calendars skip February entirely. This is because dates are preserved when adding months. Since February has only 28 days this year, the date rolls over to the next month. As a result, the right date becomes March 2nd. To prevent date rollover, we'll always start calculations from the first day of the month. Now, it works for every case whether a month ends in 28, 30, or even 31 days. That's it. Now let's clean out the dev clutter. Remove temporary codes and any placeholder content from the HTML. And there you have it, a fully functional date range picker. If you enjoyed this tutorial, give it a like, drop a comment with your feedback, and share it with someone who'd find it helpful. Check my bio for the Buy Me a Coffee link, or scan the QR code on screen. Your support helps me create more tutorials like this. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to catch my next build. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.